much faith that had to take place, and it's just sometimes it makes you just want to stop, because you just like, at this point, God, I done had enough. I don't want no more. You know why? Because I feel more comfortable here.
Look what you're putting me through. I never do this to you.
Welcome back to my channel. I am Johnny Renetta, aka The Realist J, and I'm back with another video today. And in today's video, I'm gonna be doing this long awaited, and it's not like y'all have been waiting a long time for this, but I could feel God putting it on my heart to talk about this. And it was such an experience. So a while ago, I had to like basically change my life around, and I believe I dropped a testimony video years ago, probably like a couple years ago, about how I had to like change everything basically, and I started to grow closer to God and all these things. So throughout that time of me growing closer to God, I would say everything was kind of ripped apart. Things just got bad. I didn't have a place to stay. I was kind of just like house hopping or couch hopping for the most part in 2020, and like the world was shut down, so things were just completely different. I wasn't in school anymore. I was barely working. I was just house hopping, you know? So time went on, and I ended up going back home. I should stay with my parents for a little bit. I started to grow close. During that time, I started to grow closer to God. And when, I want to say like, I went back home around like September-ish. And as I was growing closer to God, I was starting to see like different videos and people's testimonies of like moving. And you know, when you get on the algorithm on certain things, it just shows you whatever you've been looking at. But this was kind of far-fetched for me, because my intention was to move to Atlanta, but instead God put Houston there for me. And I was like, Houston, it was something I had thought about, but y'all, I've only been to San Antonio. I've never been to Houston. I couldn't tell you anything about Houston, Dallas, none of those places. Only been to San Antonio for like a weekend, and that was it. So with the mindset of like, I was coming out of survival mode, and I was finding a way to just be at peace with God and all this, and staying at somebody else's house, it was just like, even though it was my parents, it just felt like I needed to leave too. And this time, me leaving the house wasn't for me to be like going back to where I was before, because God had changed me so much that I knew that if I was to go back, I would have just fell into the same things that I was already a part of before I had grown closer to Him. So like going back to my old ways. And with everything that was happening, it just felt like that would be the only comfortable thing for me to do. I've never known not dabbling into worldly things when I'm going through something and only relying on God. I haven't done that before. So I knew God was like placing that on my heart to do. Now, I've been to Atlanta plenty of times, so I knew what Atlanta was. But at the same time, I had a different intention. So I didn't have the intention of like me being this new version of myself that I've been with, walking with God and how He's been cleansing me. That version of me in Atlanta, not something I pictured. I pictured the ratchet side of me, the fun side of me, the worldly side of me in Atlanta, and it just made sense. But I knew it wasn't gonna work out, because it's just not it. Like, I don't know if it's Georgia, I don't know if it's Atlanta, but anytime I go to Atlanta, it's just bad stuff happens. So I just know that I just couldn't live there. Like I couldn't live there. It is what it is. So that brings me back to Houston. And like Christmas time came around. This was in 2020 still. Christmas time had came around, and I was still like basically relying on God to be my peace through the stuff that was going on in my life. And I was telling family members, and I was like, I'm gonna move to Texas. And they were like, even me, though, I was even like, like, it's just a feeling that I got, like, I'm moving to Texas. That's just what it's gonna be. And me, when I'm dead set on something, it's gonna happen, because I be laser focused. I make it, not that I make it happen, but I know, like, my determination, my motivation, and God leading me, it's gonna happen. It's just, it is what it is. That's just how it works. It's so crazy. Thinking back about the fact that I really didn't know how I was gonna end up in Texas, but I ended up in Texas. It was crazy. Let me keep going. Now, breathe. Hold on. Okay, I think I'm calm now. I have been journaling, and I journal. It was like a daily thing, like sometimes more than twice a day. I would just journal anything I felt, anything. I'm journaling. So I was journaling that I was noticing like signs of like Texas popping up everywhere, and people giving their testimonies and sharing videos and stuff. And I don't know what it is about Texas. Side note, I feel like a lot of Christians end up in Texas though. I don't know why. But when I lived there, I was like, okay, I could see why. It's a really, I don't know, the people there, you could tell that they're just believers. Like, it's a lot of people that are believers. There's a lot of heavy believers in Texas. I don't know. It's just something I noticed. But anyways, yeah, I was journaling, just asking God about signs that I saw, like moving to Texas and stuff, and if that was his will for me. I ended up getting on Clubhouse. Now, I don't know if y'all, like, towards the end, this is around the same time that I told my family, I'm like, I'm gonna move to Texas. I ended up on Clubhouse, and I ended up meeting people that, like, are from Texas, living in Texas, all types of things. Oh, that's just more confirmation, because now I have people that been there, lived there, experienced it, can tell me more about it, because I know nothing. And they were just like, oh yeah, it's nice. But then I started going through this battle of where. Like, I felt like God was telling me Houston. Then on the other side of it, it was like, but what about Dallas? And it was just like, I don't know where to go. Do I want to choose what I want to do, which is go to Dallas, or choose what God wants me to do and go to Houston? So I just started to, again, talking to people about it and all those different things. Another thing that helped me make my decision with going to Houston was that I started to watch Jerry Flowers on YouTube. So like I wouldn't watch during this time when I was growing closer to God. Like, I stripped myself of everything, the music, the TV shows, activities, all types of things, dabbling into like the worldly stuff. I got rid of all of it. Like, I wasn't doing anything. So I was mostly watching sermons, reading, or what is the other thing? Watching sermons, reading, and I would listen to like podcasts, whatever. But I wasn't into all the things that was just like filling my head with like nonsense, because I just needed a break from it. And that was like a time that I felt like God was the closest to me. Well, one of the times where I felt like I was the closest to God, because it was just, there was nothing there to distract me. It was just solely me, him, and he's just pouring into me, and I can receive it because I'm not being filled with like a bunch of other things that are like blocking my eyes. My ears were open. So it just became a thing. And I don't know, like, as time progressed throughout December up until like March, I just continued to go through like this mental battle of like, am I going to Dallas? Am I going to Houston? And I'm a dreamer, so I would have dreams and there would be signs and stuff, but I wouldn't always be able to comprehend it, because I don't know why I couldn't comprehend all of it all the time. There's some dreams that it's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And then there's other dreams where it's like, I really don't even know what that means, God. Like, what does that mean? But I was just having a bunch of dreams. I was doing my journaling and stuff, and it got bad. Like, it got to the point where it was close to my birthday, and I just got tired of being confused. The people that I was talking to about moving to Texas, it was helping me, but it was also hindering me, because they were pushing their narrative, like, oh, you should do this, you should do that, you should do this, you should do that. And then it was just like, what does God want me to do? Like, I really don't care what these people want me to do. I want to do what God wants me to do, because that makes the most sense. And I may not understand it, and other people may not be able to understand it, but I know that it's something bigger to this. So I ended up just disconnecting from everybody. So the people I was talking to, social media, all that stuff, I just did it away with all of it. And then that's when I got my confirmation about also Atlanta, because for my birthday, how did I turn 25? I think it was my 25th birthday. When I turned 25, I was just like, I need to get away, I need a vacation, I need some time to myself. So I ended up going to Atlanta, and I met up with some people in Atlanta, and for the most part, I didn't care about being a part of anything there. I just wanted to be away and eat and be happy. And so a lot of times I would spend the day just in my hotel room, just journaling, talking to God, chilling, relaxing. And that's just mostly what I did outside of activities. I wasn't in the club, I wasn't doing anything crazy, but I knew, again, Atlanta was not for me, because on the day it was time for me to leave, I left my phone in my Uber. And that, when I tell you, I freaking lost it. If it wasn't for my iPad, if it wasn't for my MacBook, all that stuff, being able to track it, and being able to track the Lyft driver and the person that was helping me when they were there, it was just a lot. Like, I've had a lot of bad experiences in Atlanta, but the phone thing, and then also somebody was about to rob me, but that's a different story for another time. Somebody was about to rob me. I just knew it. I just felt it, and I was just like, this is crazy. I cannot live here. Like, to be on edge all the time, no. But now, fast forward, I ended up getting my phone back. It did take like a week or two. During that time, I just had like a full out like breakdown. It was just stuff that was so bad going on during that time. I just had a whole meltdown. Like, on the way, I drove from Virginia to North Carolina because the flight was cheaper. And so when I drove to North Carolina, I went to Atlanta. Then when I came back from Atlanta, I had to go somewhere. And so I ended up staying the night in North Carolina before I went back home to Virginia. And when I tell you, like, I was just driving around, because I used to live in North Carolina, so I don't know what it was, but it just brought a lot of like, you can do it, like, you can do it type of energy, and also like overwhelming, because I knew I could do it, and I knew that God was guiding me, and I knew all these things. It was just a lot to comfort. It was a lot to take in at the time, because I was just going through so many emotions. So I was crying, like bawling my eyes out, knowing that I had to go back home to Virginia, knowing that I didn't want to do that. I could have stayed in that car and stayed in North Carolina and just been there, but I knew I couldn't go back to North Carolina. I knew I couldn't stay in Virginia. I knew I couldn't go to Atlanta. I had to go to Texas. It was just what it is. So lo and behold, like 30 days later, I ended up, my birthday weekend in Atlanta was, my birthday is the 5th of March. So I ended up moving into my apartment April 10th. My apartment in Texas, April 10th. So like that time frame, your girl was on go. I didn't want anything else. Like, God knew my heart. God knew what I needed. I needed that season by myself. I needed to be by myself, away from what I knew, what I've done before, away from what was going on. He knew I couldn't take no more. I knew I couldn't take no more. So he really saved me. He really saved me. I don't know. It was so hard though. Like, can we talk about it? Like, pause the story, because there's more tea to this moving to Texas story. But can we pause the story right now? Real talk. Like, it is so hard to see the faith in something that you don't even like know how it's going to turn out. And it's different when it's the first time. Now, like when I say now, I mean like now, like as is today, I know what God can do, and it's just as scary as it was that time. Why? Because now I've experienced it. I know, oh yeah, he means business, he means sacrifice, he means let that stuff go, he means pedal to the metal, he means what he say. And it's just like, God, it was just so much stretching, it was so much faith that had to take place. And it's just, sometimes it makes you just want to stop, because you just like, at this point, God, I done had enough. I don't want no more. You know why? Because I feel more comfortable here. And right now, like in this same time, right now, 2024, today, May 4th, May 3rd, whatever it is, I feel that moment right now again, because it's just like, it's not the same pains, it's not the same situations as it was 4 years ago, but it's the same stretching that I feel him putting onto me, and it's for like new things. So like, I've been trying to figure out mostly why he wanted me to like share this testimony, because I had wanted to a couple months ago and I just slacked on it. But now, just the other day, I just had a moment. It was just like, bro, do the video. Do the video. And it kind of just feels like that moment again. Just move to Texas. Like, why are you fighting? And this is me, like, to God, and God to me. Like, why are you fighting me? That's what God is saying to me. Like, why are you fighting me about something that you know you need to be doing? And it's like, I just feel like it's that same thing all over again. So I don't know, guys. Moving forward, y'all, I just had to get that out. Okay. But blocking out noise, all this stuff. So yes, I finally found the faith to leave. Now let me tell you, I ain't had no money. That was part of the reason why I was at my parents' house. I didn't have the money. I didn't have the same stability that I had before COVID. I didn't have after COVID. And a lot of it had to do with the fact that things had just changed. Like, a lot of stuff just had changed. So, for example, when I moved to Texas, I had a couple of checks. I was working like part-time, and I did not have a job in Texas. I started to, but it just didn't work out. Like, I had a job interview with this lady, and I was supposed to be working with her, but I don't know, it just did not work out. So I had to remember when I told y'all my phone was left in the Uber, well, the Lyft, when I was in Atlanta? When I got to North Carolina, I got a new phone, like a whole nother line. So I had two phones. One was missing, and I had the other one. So I ended up getting a second phone, basically. So the lady had my second phone number. She didn't have my main phone. So I would carry, when I got my main phone back, that's when I started to carry it around more, but I wasn't carrying my second phone. And the lady, it was just, why am I talking about this? I don't know. It was just a lot of mess with that job, okay? It just didn't work out. So when I was moving to Texas, I knew I didn't have a job. All I had was the little checks that I was getting from here and there from working part-time. And miraculously, I got approved for my apartment. And I had to get me a locator because, again, I've never been to Houston at all. Couldn't tell you nothing about it. Barely can tell you now, even though I lived there for a couple years. I could barely talk about it, okay? What helped me through this, and that's why I feel like this was a God thing. This had nothing to do with me. This was God. I was able to find an apartment locator, all because I heard about locators because of Jimmy. Jimmy's like another YouTuber, and she does locating in Atlanta. But that's how I heard about it. So I was like, well, maybe they have one for Houston. And lo and behold, they do. I don't remember the girl's name, but she was helping me. And as she was telling me like good places to live, I'm like, yeah, that's cool, but you're trying to sell me too. So let me do my own research on Google Maps. And I would Google like different parts of the city. And I knew that I wasn't trying to stay exactly in Houston. See, I like the suburbs. I like to be able to go to Walmart and it not be like OD. or Target and it not be OD, and you know, grocery shopping and not be overwhelming and you have to deal with traffic and all that stuff. I don't like all of that. I'd rather get in my car, be able to drive 10, 5, 15 minutes, get somewhere, get what I need, and go home and mind my business. I don't care about being all in the city. I'm just too old. I want to chill. So I was looking for places that was like North Houston area, and she was able to help me. And when I tell you I was Google mapping so hard, I'm saying I'm sitting in the street in front of the apartment, clicking through to see, okay, there's stores here, there's stores there. And I don't know if you've noticed, but in affluent neighborhoods, there are certain stores. So I'm looking for certain stores in these neighborhoods because that lets me know that other people are there that care a little more about that part of the city. You know what I mean? I feel like when they put affluent stores in certain places, they're cleaning up that area a little more versus if they just put rinky-dinks. Not rinky-dinks, let me say. Like the city. It's really hard to maintain a city. But it's not that hard to maintain the suburbs, especially if it's in an affluent area. So I was looking for that. And I was able to find it, and I did. And with the help of that locator and the grace of God, I got approved for that apartment. And what was so crazy, I had a dream the night before that I remember this dream so vividly. And I feel like I'm on my Martin Luther King right now. But I dreamt of me like going through some apartment doors, and it was like, I can't remember exactly if it was 452 or 432, the apartment, but I was walking through the apartments and just getting through different buildings and stuff. And it was just like, I just remember because at the same time, Eastern Standard Time, I got a phone call the next day that I was approved. And it was at the exact same time I walked through the doors in my dream of that apartment number. And I was like, God is so strategic. He's so good. I was like, oh my goodness. I was like, this is crazy. So I told my family and stuff. And after that, it was just like pedal to the metal. Like, let's go. Now, I had everything planned out. I had the money for the apartment. I had the money for the next couple of months. You know, I had all of that prepared. I did not get prepared for the trip to Texas. When I tell you, so I was able to get a U-Haul, and we hitched my car to the back of the U-Haul, so it just kind of rolled behind us, and we drove from Virginia. We drove from Virginia, me and my parents, Virginia to Houston. Yes, all the states. And it was just like, that had to be the longest, craziest ride ever. I don't even remember where we stayed at. Where did we stay? I think some nights we just drove through it. We didn't even stop driving until we got to like Beaumont, Texas, and then we got a hotel that night, and the next day we drove into Houston, which was probably like 30-40 minutes into the city. But I didn't have gas money, I didn't have food money, so my parents were kind of like footing that part of it, and I couldn't repay them for that. Like, I was just like, I don't even kind of got anxious because the apartment that I got approved for wasn't the apartment that I wanted. It was a different one, which was fine. It was a little bigger, it was cute and all that, whatever, but it did cost a little more. So I was like, oh no. But it was, I mean, it all worked out, because you know what happened? And I don't think the apartment complex knew this, but let me tell you what happened. So when we finally got to Houston, hold on. I lost it. When we finally got to Houston, right, they were taking me through like the, you know, the welcoming part of the apartment and stuff. And from what I read in the reviews, wherever you move to in Texas, honestly, especially Houston, live in the front of the neighborhood or somewhere where you can like where there's cameras or you can see your car or something like that, because I just could not take the risk of them one night just people will come outside and just take your tires, or they'll just take like different parts of your car and they sell it, or sometimes they even take your whole car and that's it. So I was trying to be mindful of that. So the apartment that was selected for me was in the front of the neighborhood. The security cameras were right there, security guard was right there, so everything was just boom. And I felt really secure with that, because I don't know, it just felt secure for me. And I went to give them like my deposit. So you have your deposit, and then you also have like your prorated rent. So because I was moving in on the 10th, they only made me pay like a portion of the rent for that month, because I wasn't there for the whole month. But remember, there was also a move-in, well, not remember, I never told you, sorry, but there was a move-in special, and they applied it to my first 2 months of rent, which was cherry chef kiss. That was so thoughtful. Anyways, they applied it to the first couple months of my rent, and I don't know if they didn't calculate it right, but my move-in amount was supposed to be like 800 something. I only paid 400, and that includes my deposit. And I was like, this is weird. Look at God. I was like, look at God, I got extra money. So then the next month comes, and I'm living there already by this time. I'm living there, my parents have left, and I'm just basically, I'm in Texas, okay? So I was there, and this is still what I call favor. Like, when God wants you to do something, he got favor for you, okay? There is favor. There are doors open. There is tables prepared for you. There was tables prepared for me in Texas. That month, paying $400, mind you, my whole rent was probably like 11, close to 12 for that whole month. I was 10 days into, I was 10 days into the month. So that's about 20 days. 20 days out of 1,200 is probably about, I'm not that good at math. I'm kind of good, but like, let me see. So if we took 1,200 and divided it by 30, that's $40 a day. And then we times that by like 20, that's $800. See, I told you, I knew that. It was about $800 that I was supposed to pay. I only paid $4. Then the next month, I think they mishandled my security deposit, because the next month it was what they offered me off that month and the $200 for my security deposit. And I was just like I said, oh, okay, God, I see what you're doing here. I was like, I like that. And that was really helpful, because again, it goes back to, I didn't have a job. I moved in April. I didn't get a job until June, July-ish. And I was working in Macy's, and it wasn't in North Houston, like where I was. I was closer to like the Woodlands. It was not in the Woodlands. It was in downtown Galleria, Houston. If you know anything about Houston, and that drive from the Woodlands to Houston is supposed to be about 30 minutes. Every day, my commute was at least an hour and a half. By the time I get to work, get off work, go home, it's easily 8 o'clock at night. And I have to go to sleep because I have to wake up early and do it all over again. So I was literally like doing this and still working that part-time job. And I just got fed up. And I was like, God, I remember when I was just, I don't know, like when I was there, when I was working like at that place, I felt it in my soul, deep in my core. I'm like, this ain't it. Like, this cannot be it. Like, God didn't prepare these tables for me to be here. I had got hired, and the lady that I was working with, they were looking out for me, and they gave me a job that wasn't like the traditional cashier's type of job. It was more so of like marketing, merchandising type of thing. and basically it's like you handle signage and all this type of stuff. So it's just marketing. And I was like, God, like, I love marketing, you know, that's my thing. But at one point in time, it started to change. Like, it wasn't enough marketing duties to fulfill the 40 hours that they gave me. Instead, it was, oh, go do this, go do that. And it wasn't jobs that I signed up for. And I'm like, this ain't right. Like, this cannot be it. And then, add insult to injury, I think that's the saying, I don't quite know. 2 weeks later, I found out the lady that hired me got a higher position, a higher paid position, and she ended up leaving. So she was over the marketing side of things, like the merchandising marketing, and she left me high and dry. So I didn't have a manager over my duties. So then I started getting thrown into all types of things because I didn't really have any work, and they were still looking for somebody to replace her. So it just started to feel like, I remember I used to be in this room and they needed somebody to organize the room. And it was like a little, probably about as big as this closet that I'm in right now. It's really little. But imagine like a walk-in closet. That's how big that room was. And it was just full of like signage, merchandising stuff, and all these things. And I was sitting there and I would be listening to sermons and podcasts, and I would just be like on the brink of just bawling out, crying, and running out the building, because it was just like, dude, this can't be it. Like, this is not it. And I had already knew that because God had given me a dream. I told y'all I was a dreamer. I'm a dreamer. So God had given me a dream that I was going to be teaching, and I was like, oh my God, like, I'm not doing what God wants me to do. And I started to get a little anxious, and it just made it way worse when I was there at that store. So I just had this overwhelming feeling of like the spirit on me confirming, yeah, you're not supposed to be here. And I left and never came back. That's probably not the right thing to do, but I did it because at the same time I had just so happened to get a new job being a assistant teacher. So I started that assisting teaching job, and when I tell you, I have never worked, it was at like this daycare, and I've done like nannying and all these different things, but I have a deep rooted love for kids. Like, I just love kids. They just different. Of course, I mean, they're children, but like, it's just different. They really make life wonderful. So with me being an assistant teacher, I was in this environment that I've never been in before. At that school, it's kind of like an academy. Oh, my phone dying. I've never been in that environment before. So it was all just like, wow, this like feels crazy favor. And I just kept thinking, God, like, this is crazy. And it's not like I was getting paid the most money in the world or anything, but when it comes to like stuff that God wants for you, it wasn't even about making the most money. It was just being able to fulfill what he's called me to, where I was called to serve to. And I also felt like I was called to serve in the church, but that didn't quite work out because of how my schedule was and all this stuff. But I did end up going to Jerry Flowers Church, and I was like always there when I could be there because of my work schedule. And again, I had 2 jobs, so it was just a lot, but I would be there when I could be there. And I met like so many people, and it just felt like a breath of fresh air because it wasn't like people knew me from college. It wasn't like people knew me from growing up. It was not like I had family there. It was all just like a brand new breath of fresh air, like new people, new vibes, new environment, new everything. And it was just such a blessing. Let me try and finish this up. Okay, so fast forward, throughout that time there, I was working not all those jobs, but I was working multiple jobs, like the daycare, and then also helping with a part-time job that I had. It was just a lot, and at times I didn't have enough. And when I tell you favor, ooh, I didn't have enough. So this was probably a year post-COVID, going into 2022. A friend of mine had mentioned that she got her rent paid, and I was like, does Texas do that? And y'all, let me tell you, Texas do it, okay? Texas did it. Texas paid my rent from November all the way up to March. No rent, rent-free. And when I tell you, favor, that was God. Who would have known? From the time that I started that lease, those couple of months into it, my payments were like insanely lower than they were supposed to be. I only paid rent from like June up until November. So June to October is when I paid full price meaning. But when November, December, January, February, and March came around, I paid nothing. Like, what? That is God. Oh my goodness. Y'all, that was God. There was no way. I don't know if the girl didn't mention it, I probably would have never known. I probably would have struggled 10 times harder in Texas. But things just came so easy in Texas. Like, it was so easy. Crazy. And yeah, so like those were a couple of different things that happened. But as the time progressed there in Texas, stuff started to change at home as well. And because I was away, I wasn't into like all of the things. I would just be in Texas supporting from afar. And so as time went on, I'm not gonna say the story gets bad or anything, but my time in Texas did get cut. And it wasn't due to anything that I did. It was negligence of the leasing office. And I don't know, I just felt like when God blesses you, right, and you are living, like you've prayed for something. You ever prayed for something, you get it, and then you're living in it, and you're like, oh my God, I have to maintain this. Oh my goodness, like this is the blessing that I wanted, God, thank you. But what happens now? I mean, like I have it, but now what? And it's like, you go through your trials and tribulations, then boom, blessing, trials and tribulation, boom, blessing. So I was on the point of like coming down from boom, blessing. And it was just like, I don't understand how it ended the way that it ended. But I know that it needed to, because I needed to be closer to my family again. For a multitude of reasons without being like specific. But it was just crazy that during that time God moved me to Texas. He protected me, he covered me, he watched over me, he prepared tables before me, he blessed me in numerous ways. I met so many people in Texas. They were just amazing, lively people, and it just blew my mind. A place I've never thought that I would live, a place that I've never experienced. God provided for me to go there as a safe space to just detox, heal, become a better woman. And like, he was all right, you're done here. Like I graduated or something, and he picked me up and brought me right back to the East Coast. And it's just amazing. I don't know, I just feel like there needs to be a second part to this on just like me growing overall. It won't solely be about just moving to Texas, but how that isolation really helped me become who I am today, and why I am, how I'm maneuvering through that process, I guess you could say. But I'll post that in a separate video because my phone is dying. And I do appreciate you for watching this far. Hold on, let me save this. I do appreciate you for watching this far, and I hope that this story edifies you and touches you, and I don't know, you recognize that you may be living in your blessing. And ask yourself, like, are you prepared for like the next thing? Because God's just not gonna keep you in the same place forever. Are you ready? Are you preparing? Are you grateful? Are you thinking about it? Like, where are you? Okay. But yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for tuning in. No, but I'll see you in the next video. This is a part of the Woe series, so We Only Are Human series, and this is episode 2 of it. I haven't done another one. Y'all, I want to get some nice stuff to put up behind here. I'm gonna just chat until it closes out. Anyways, yeah, that's everything. So I do hope that you have a great rest of your day, and